Welcome back to Roundtables Combatives,
your favorite new local martial arts podcast.
All right, thank you, Billy. Sorry, Myron. I know he looks like Billy. He's got the same hairstyle, but
me and Billy have a lot in common.
Yes, okay? yes. Yeah, both officers, both handsome. Billy's actually on training in Alexandria today. He's got officer training today.
Right.
But today we are joined by Myron, Angel, and Joey. So you may, if you know anything about martial arts in Louisiana area, you probably know Joey. But let's go ahead and introduce us. Let's start with you, Myron. Just give us a brief for people who didn't see the previous episode.
Okay. I'm Myron Gaudet. I was on the previous episode. I've been in martial arts now for 40 years. Boxing, kickboxing, Japanese jiu-jitsu, just lots of different stuff. I'm also a veteran police officer and police supervisor. And so that's about me. Angel.
Awesome.
My name is Angellia Spitale. I moved in New Orleans area in 2014. My martial arts, adventure started in 2015. And then I met Myron Gaudet at 2016, I believe, 16, 17.
Something like that.
Yeah. My road to martial arts came from abuse. So that's where mine got me started. Other than that, I work in film. I'm a professional stunt woman. I'm really good at falling over.
Awesome. How long have you been a stunt woman?
I started in 2010.
Okay.
Yeah, I didn't get to jump in like I wanted to. I was a single mom for 10 years. Mm-hmm. So it definitely took a lot of time to get in.
Where you said you lived before here?
Ooh.
Or was it like a host of places?
It was a host of places.
Okay,
It was a lot of places. This is definitely the biggest area I've ever lived in.
Gotcha. And when you got into movies, was it here or then you just transferred here?
Just transferred here. It was Hammond, Louisiana, where I was actually living when I first started. And I got in through motorcycles of all things.
Okay. Yeah. Cool. Yeah. I have quite a few friends in the movie industry, makeup, some stunt people. Kevin Waterman.
Yes, I know Kevin.
Kevin. I met him when I started at NOLA Motorsports. I'm an instructor over there for HPD, high speed driving education, and he was an instructor. He was a stunt driver there too.
He is a fantastic driver.
He's awesome. I got some great footage of him doing some crazy shit in the car.
Yeah. He is definitely the driver. I am not the driver. Don't call me for driving stunts. I don't like it. I don't like to picture cars. I'm just not. I'm the. You hit me with the car. You don't let me drive the car.
All right, Joey. What about you, man?
My name's Joey Ancona. I started martial arts in 1972. Mm-hmm. I was raised in Jefferson Parish, Orleans Parish, and St. Landry Parish. Spent a lot of my high school and young years, all summers in St. Landry Parish, a little town called Melville, and usually the Christmas breaks. But I was educated here in the city.
Okay. Yeah.
Started martial arts in 72.
Yeah. 72. And what styles of martial arts are you?
I started in a Japanese style called Wado Kai, and then I merged off into a Kempo.
Okay.
Chinese style, and then Ken Duncan got here in 75 from the Vietnam War, and I started in Kuk Sowan, a Korean style, and I stuck with that and got my black belts in that. Okay. And then I started some Thai boxing and stuff.
Yeah,
I'd have to go to California to train over there with Benny Akita as the jet because we didn't really have any Thai boxing here. Yeah, at the time. Yeah.
So common friend, my mentor actually is one of your old students. You remember Tim Wade? We had lunch like 2 years ago, I think.
Tim Wade, yeah.
We
he was one of my students.
He says hi.
Tell us that he's a great guy. I like seeing my old students,
he's good,
flourish and do well.
I tell you, he is one bad motherfucker with a blade. I would put him up against anybody. Very, very skilled. Very skilled. So anyway, we're here today because we're trying to promote a couple of things. One being the Battle of the Badges boxing event. These guys are Joey's hosting, and that's next weekend, right?
Friday night, the 10th at 7 p.m.
Oh, the 10th. Okay.
At the Park Street Center.
Okay, awesome. Yeah. You want to tell us a little bit about that? What is it? It's Battle of the Badges. So it's fire department against the police department, right?
Yeah. How it got started, Dennis Wall started it 19 years ago in Monroe, Louisiana. It's grown tremendously since then. And he, in fact, lives next door to Ricky Norris, who's our commissioner for MMA for the Athletic Commission in Louisiana. And Ricky had been asking me to look into it. And I went to a show in Shreveport to look at it. And then I took Myron and Angel with us to Monroe in August to look at it again. And it was at that point when I decided, I saw, the audience and the family camaraderie and work camaraderie of all the police and the firemen. I said, I want to do this event. Ricky, you're right. We're going to try this out.
Yeah, if I can interrupt, it's a perfect outgrowth of what we do in martial arts, and it comes together in such a way where we can share what it is that we're passionate about, but at the same time make a big difference. And as a first responder myself, I can put a lot into it. And it's just when I first got involved in it as well, I said, man, this is really, really a positive thing that can help us to spread our message with martial arts, but at the same time, give back to the community.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Awesome. What? How many fighters or how many fighters you have?
Last I looked, 17 fights.
Okay. Yeah. Nice.
I'm hoping we have, some people may get hurt or decide to pull out the next week or so, but if we have 12 to 14 fights, we're going to be.
That's a good card. Yeah.
I'll be refereeing it as you normally see me in MMA refereeing, but I'll be refereeing this event. Make sure everything goes the right way.
Awesome. And as far as weight classes,
we try to keep all the guys within 10 to 12, 15 pounds of each other in the heights. So we match them more in skill, in weight and age is what we try to do. This is not an event for somebody to go take somebody's head off. This is a family-friendly event to enjoy, perform, and raise money for the causes that we're doing it for.
Nice. Awesome. And where is it held again?
The Pontchartrain Center in Kenner.
In Kenner. Okay. Yeah. Right off at the end of Williams.
What time we start? At 7, right?
7 p.m. Doors open at 6.
Okay.
Fighters got to be there by 5. Yeah.
Right.
Awesome. What? So and now I understand that the it's a fundraiser event for an organization. You guys are
several organizations.
Several organizations.
Yeah.
Okay. Why don't you tell us a little bit about those?
We wanted to see we like giving directly back to those in need. I'm not interested in giving it to big organizations so they can spread the pay. We want to give directly to the people who are involved.
Right.
And
one of our causes is going to be for Dante Vega. He's a deputy. He's a deputy sheriff. His dad's a deputy sheriff. His grandpa was a police officer as well. So he comes from a first responder family line. Well, he was involved in a motorcycle accident where he got hit, and he's had a really rough road. So we're going to try to use a lot of the money that's made in this event to help him and his family out.
Okay, nice.
That was in July, right?
It was in like July.
I think it's a rough road. I remember seeing posts about it.
Yeah,
on social media and such.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
me and his dad worked together for a long time. We're the same age. Yeah. So it hurts me to see the condition that he's in and needing help. So I got to do something. I do.
And if people can't make it to the event, is there some place they can donate to the cause? Just
yes.
Yes.
Do you have a website or something?
Yes, we do.
Okay.
What is it, Angel?
So for Dante Vega, you can go to gofundme.com/561B1DD4.
Okay. I'll also put this on the comment, the description section and
perfect.
Such with that.
Yeah, perfect.
So those are 2 of the causes. We actually have one other, which is the New Orleans Memorial Stair Climb.
Okay.
You want to talk about that a little bit?
Yeah. So it's fire department driven, and they get together several times throughout the year, and they honor everybody who was fallen at 9/11. So they go through and they do the stair climb with all gear and everything, and they
as many flights as
yes. Right. Considering it's New Orleans, we don't really have somewhere with that many flights. You have to go all the way up and then all the way down.
Right.
But they do it in all the gear, and the cool thing about them is they honor the family and all those who fallen within that last year. And 100% of their profits go to the family. So no matter what type of service member it is, whenever they pass, they go ahead and put that directly to the people.
Okay.
Yeah, we need more stuff like this. Between fire, police, EMS, it's a dangerous job, and it's not getting any easier.
Yeah.
So we need to do more things like this in order to contribute. Because I mean, as much as I hate to say it, the state and the government, and they definitely don't take as good care of first responders as they need to. This also includes military.
Right.
So when you want to make a change, the best way to do it is to make it yourself.
Yeah. And the third one at the top here is martial arts for kids, the MAC.
Yeah.
Right. And that's a new one that you guys are starting.
Yeah. Well, I started it before the pandemic, but when the pandemic hit, we just kind of had it on hold. And then we filed again to get our 501 status, and we got it about 6 months ago. What it is, you know, throughout my life coaching, I've been coaching since, you know, I started in 72, but I've been really coaching and teaching since 77. And I've had so many students that, you know, had to, you know, come to me and tell me, Mr. Joe, we can't afford to come over. You can't tell these kids no.
Right.
You just can't do it.
Right. And if it's something you love.
Yeah. And you're passionate about it. So you just say, no, don't worry about it. I got it. You know, and you keep on coaching them. But you still have to make a living.
Yeah. You got to pay your bills.
Yeah. You got to pay the bills for your family and everything else.
Keep the school open.
That's why
you got to keep the school open.
You know, when I had my gym, it was so ironic. I had a gym upstairs and a ballroom downstairs. You know, we did other things. But the money was made through different forms of, you know, businesses. We couldn't survive on a martial arts school alone. So I've always been, you know, I had multi businesses to cover each one.
Right.
But my passion was coaching and teaching. So I've noticed that there's a lot of guys out there that did the same thing I did, still doing it, and they still here in the city. Yeah. So I wanted to form something where they wouldn't lose their kids, but they still wouldn't lose the income that they needed to support their own families. Because I'm blessed, man. I kind of changed my career lifestyle, and I got a bunch of properties and rentals and everything after Hurricane Katrina. Kind of learned about it, you know, what was really needed in this city. Yeah. And then the martial arts promotion started, you know, doing better for us. And so I said, well, you know, it's about time that we, you know, use what I know and what I've learned in trial and error over all these 40, 50 years of been in martial arts and put it to use and help these other guys and coaches and these students that don't want to quit. Right. You know, it's heartbreaking when the parents, and some parents, I'm gonna tell you, some parents in the past says, no, if I can't pay, I'm not coming. Yeah. I'd have to actually argue with them. Says, no, you're going to come and you're not going to quit, and don't worry about the bill, you know? Right. You know? And so
I've been there too. I've done that too with people I've trained. And I mean, I can say this, that sometimes the kids that need the training the most are the ones who can afford it the least. Because the benefits that martial arts do and have on a young life it's just an astronomical transformation when it's coached properly. And the thing is that the kids that need it the most often it's the most inaccessible too.
I mean, and that's a common knowledge. I mean, there's movies about that, you know, it's how it saves people. You know?
Right. But I mean, we live in a world where economic realities are what they are. And at the same time, if we're going to do something to help young people with an activity like martial arts, that's going to help them grow and help them get a lot stronger and more resilient and more adaptable to real life. I mean, we have to look in the mirror and make that change. And like I was saying before, so this martial arts for kids thing, we're going to take kids that want to train but can't necessarily afford it, and we're going to match them up with a facility that's close by that'll take them in and that they can actually train with. And it can be an indefinite thing, and we're going to track it. We have a lot of things in place that's going to keep it accountable. And I think it's just going to be a wonderful thing that has never existed around here.
So how does one apply or whatnot if they're interested in
we're getting that word out now to the gyms. We let them know that says, if you know, I call them up and say, you have any students that, you know, were a good match for you, but they came back and said they couldn't afford it. You know, I said, you know, let us know, and I'd like to talk with them about it. Or do you have any students that have recently quit because they can't finance it, and you are still letting them go there, but they really deserve that?
Yeah.
I says, I'll be happy to offset that expense for you and pay those scholarships.
Mhm.
And that's what we're doing. We funding their tuition, basically,
Yeah.
to the school.
Mhm.
And we'll buy them their equipment if needed be and get them started.
My view of this is going to be, I think eventually it's going to be a much larger thing, probably statewide at first, and then it could even grow bigger than that. But the point being, we'll have basically accredited participating facilities that can submit applications for kids. That's the way I see it working. And then we can
And
work
this
it
is for
like
combat sports.
Yeah.
All combat sports.
Right.
You know, we named it martial arts for kids, and I was just thinking about that at the beginning, and we still may consider changing. Myron came up with a great idea last week: is combats
martial arts and combat sports for kids.
Yeah, you know, I came up with that name, but it came up with that the acronym you call it the
Mac, yeah.
Yeah, Max.
Max.
Yeah.
You know?
It just sounds really good.
Yeah, Max.
Yeah.
Well, the
Because,
thing
you
about
know, we talk about boxing gyms and
kickboxing,
wrestling.
I
Yeah,
mean,
wrestling
right,
gyms and everything.
right.
You know.
Yeah.
It's not going to be limited to just karate.
I actually work with Scorpions. I told Pat Ritchie, I said, Pat, you have any students who are out? Yeah, I'd like to that can't come back because they can't afford it. I'd be happy to pay tuition for the boys. Right. It's about $500 a year.
Yeah, for those who don't know what that is, that's Rummel's Wrestling.
Wrestling Squad. Actually, they changed this past school year. Mm-hmm. It's not Scorpion Wrestling anymore. It's Raider Wrestling.
Raider Wrestling,
okay.
Yeah,
I just signed up my grandson yesterday.
You know, with this program, that same conversation that you've had with students, like, no, you're not going to give up. You actually had that same exact talk with me. Because
I know.
I showed up at Mushin at the time, and I was going through a breakup, and just my world was, I needed to get back up on my feet. And I remember coming into Myron and said, look, I'm going to do everything I can to keep my daughter in here, but I can't afford this. I can't stay here. And he's like, you're not going to quit. You're not going to give up. And I'm like, did you not just hear me? Like, I
passed up something good tomorrow because I used to do the same thing.
I wasn't going to I mean, she had way too much potential. I mean, I could see everything in her. I was like, there's no way. I said, you're not quitting. Absolutely not.
Yeah. And then, he took me under his wing, and it's cool because now, being a gym manager with NOLA BJJ, I see that with other people and being able to be that, you know, like that young boy that's in the class.
Yeah.
He's got a lot of potential, but I know he's struggling financially. So it's really cool to see that. And from a single mom's point of view, that's a really nice breath of fresh air.
He's going to be a good fit for the Max program.
Yeah. He's going to be great.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And it's hard when you see a student do really well.
Yeah.
And then you don't see him anymore. It's like, man, it sucks because, you know, they were good, you know, not to say bad students don't deserve it, but you know, it's
you see that potential in someone sometimes. And you're just like, man,
it disrupts their whole lifestyle.
Yeah.
And they'll start failing in school because they feel them a failure because they can't afford to take martial arts. You got to give these kids a break, man.
Yeah.
It's rough out there.
Yeah.
You know,
martial arts, I said this on the last podcast, I believe, that martial arts is one of the greatest tools for growth that a young person can participate in. It's almost like a hack for almost every other sport. And at the same time, when it talks about your commitment and your drive and your adaptability, all of these things are what you need in the real world to get a good job, to keep a good job, and to raise a good family. Mm-hmm. The martial arts are a vehicle to get you there. And I mean, it got me there. I know that I am who I am because of the martial arts, partially because of Joe. Mm-hmm. I always often say I've had many martial arts coaches, but one person taught me how to fight. That's who it was right there. Right. So I got nothing but good things to say about that with him. But again, I'm a product of martial arts, and it has brought me into a lot of places worldwide. Yeah. So,
it's completely changed my life too. Mm-hmm. Completely.
It's who I am.
Yeah.
You know, I just, I can't attest this to anything else. Yeah. And you wouldn't imagine my parents were against it and everything when I started. Yeah. My mother, but I said, you know, I had to take the public school bus system to go downtown to the city. So I was running through a little rough neighborhood and I was getting picked on and beat on all the time. If you want me to keep on going to Jesuit on a scholarship, I'm going to have to learn how to fight better.
Yeah.
And I just, you know, we got a little, Mr. Takazawa had a Japanese Wado school over on Turnbull right behind Keith LaSalle's bar. What's that called?
Dixie Tavern.
Yeah. And I started there. And just that Japanese traditional style even got me to fighting better. You know, I didn't really start boxing until after I got out of high school.
Okay.
So, the school stuff, I was wrestling at Jesuit at the time also. And I would be coming home after wrestling practice with my bag, and then the kids down the street are waiting for me.
Yeah.
Before I got on an Allen Highway bus, so, you know. And I'd take the bus home and get off at the, which was Burger King. I don't know what it is now, right there on Turnbull.
It's a pharmacy.
Pharmacy, yeah. Right
I'm
there,
not
right
the
there
good one
street,
to ask.
It's a pharmacy.
And I'd have to
It's
walk,
right by your
and
house.
I'd walk home all the way to my house from there every day.
Okay.
Because my dad was worked in a blood bank at Turo, and my mom was a school teacher.
Okay. Yeah.
My parents just didn't understand why I wanted to do martial arts at all. My parents were sports oriented. My dad was very big in baseball. I did play baseball, played it for a long time, but my passion really just guided me into the combat sports and the martial arts.
Yeah.
And my parents, like I said, they just didn't get it. They really didn't get it. I would show up at home, bruised up, bleeding, busted up.
You enjoy this?
My mother never went to one of my fights in my entire life.
Yeah.
She would pray and light candles so I wouldn't hurt the other person. I was crazy. I'm going, Mom, you know? So it was, you know, it wasn't my parents that pushed me. I just wanted to do it.
Yeah.
I just pushed myself.
Right.
I wish I would have found it sooner.
Yeah.
My parents put me in. I was always a scrappy kid, but I was always picked on. We were poor, and I was always picked on. So I quickly learned that fighting. Yeah.
I can't say I definitely cannot say I was bullied as a kid. I can say that there were people that attempted to bully me, but by the time that happened, I had already had a lot of training.
Yeah.
And it wasn't a thing. It didn't happen. I mean, I started when I was 10. I started in Shotokan karate.
Okay.
And I did that for a little while, and I realized, I liked it, and I see a lot of value in it. I see a lot of value in the discipline of it, but it didn't speak to me like boxing, kickboxing, and jiu-jitsu did.
Myron had the mindset of he was more into reality sports, you know, what really works on the street,
right?
And that's applicable in every situation there is.
Well, I had to be because of I knew from a young age that I was going to be probably a policeman or maybe a soldier or something along those lines. And my journey with martial arts went more along that line than the competition line. And I mean, that kind of framed my training and framed my experience with it.
Yeah, and we discussed that last time. I mean, there is a distinct difference, you know, and some people don't realize that.
Yeah.
You know, but definitely, if you think of all the martial arts artists that you know of, what kind of people they are as an adult, you know,
right?
They're just not fuck ups.
No, generally not. Generally not.
Yeah.
There are some exceptions, but at the same time, most of the time, the people that you deal with that have a lot of training or a high degree of training are going to be some of the most humble, peaceful people that you'll ever meet. No doubt.
Yeah.
I mean, I can't tell you. I mean, we don't routinely arrest professional martial artists.
Right.
And that's one exception.
Oh, that's a different story. That's definitely
an anomaly here, right?
This is an anomaly. We can go there. Look, that's a whole episode that in and of
I
itself.
think I need popcorn.
Yeah, you better get your popcorn.
I used to go to places so people would definitely pick on me, and I could train at night. And
you get free training, right?
Oh yeah,
right.
I used to.
My God, this is an ironic anomaly, but
yes, typically it's not true.
After the whole spiel, we just go in about it.
I used to. There was a place called the President that when we were in high school, the guys from Jesuit and all of the St. Chalmette High School would go to the President on the weekends, and it was a boat, and they'd dance in a river. You know, it's what you call it?
Party barge?
No, it was
like a gambling boat.
No, the boats. It's called a President, and
paddle
boat. And every weekend we'd have a big banger, man, with the Chalmette versus New Orleans.
No shit, huh?
And I was in there every weekend while I was going to Jesuit. You know.
Yeah. That's where I'm from, Chalmette.
Yeah,
I grew up in Chalmette, Saint Bernard. Yeah. I wasn't never in a lot of trouble in Saint Bernard. Like I had family that was known to be fighters and that, but I stay out of that.
I think there's plenty of those in Saint Bernard.
Yeah.
I do think it's cool. We have like coach inception here. We got your coach, my coach, his coach.
Right. That's
It's a table of
My
it's
coach's
like
coach.
Yeah,
It's
it's
like
my
a
coach's coach.
generational. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a generational
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to let me bring Ken Duncan on a podcast.
Absolutely,
He's a very interesting guy
Yeah,
to
definitely,
listen to.
Uh-huh.
You know?
Yeah.
He was my mentor in martial
Okay.
arts. Yeah.
Oh, awesome.
I mean, all the instructors I had, Rakuo Takazawa, the instructor for Kempo. He was a pretty wild guy, though. He's kind of a flower child hippie type guy.
Yeah.
Interesting, but he knew his stuff. And then Ken came. I started with Ken right when he came back from Vietnam, and he was rough, man. And he's still rough. You look at this guy. He's
How old is he now?
He's like 75 or so. He's 10 years old and he's 75 and he still can go, man. I'm telling you. Yeah, and he's Leon Molinaro, Leon.
Yeah.
Leon, we all had dinner one night with Ken and everything, and they all looked at me and said, God, the guy's still rough. I'd be scared to still moving. he has that presence. He's seen so much action in Vietnam. He was a gunner on a Huey and always picking up people in the landing zone, Yeah, he saw a lot of action, but he was wild, man. Hell of a martial artist.
So, Angel, we definitely like to have you back, have your own podcast. But if you don't mind, if you're okay to talk about, you said you got into martial arts from what was it? What was the word you said? Abuse. You want to touch on that a little bit, or
Sure.
like
The violence that I like was definitely not the violence that I came from. Being younger, I guess you'd label it a broken home. I grew up in a trailer park, and I was the only girl there, and my mom still has substance abuse issues, alcoholism, and so I grew up around a lot of fighting, a lot of yelling, a lot of screaming, seeing people fucked up on drugs, was kind of normal, and it took me a long time to realize that it wasn't normal. That wasn't normal. When I was
you're just a product of your environment, you just don't know better.
You don't. You really don't. And the thing about learned behavior like that is you either change the behavior or you repeat the behavior.
Right.
And so it's throughout my life, I had to really adjust my attitude and my thinking, just being from that. Whenever I was 6 whenever the first time I was raped, and my mom hired a male babysitter. And so it started then, and several sexual assaults later, lasting all the way until I was 14. So I was definitely upset, and I was very angry at the world. I was just angry at everyone. And I never really felt like anybody was there to protect me. And I specifically have this memory, and I know Myron Joe's heard this story before. I was sitting on top of this shed. I just wanted to be up and away, because if you're in the air, nobody's coming up after you. So I'm sitting there and I'm writing in my journal, and I remember saying, like, why isn't somebody there for me? Why didn't somebody protect me? Why didn't anybody listen? And so years and years and years later, I'm realizing that I went through a lot of that violence. So I am able to be humble, and I can help other people through their own stuff. Therapy saved my life. It really did. It helped me think clearly. It helped me get through the darkness. But martial arts has given me peace, and a confidence.
A focal point.
It has. It has. And instead of doing dumb things, like people want to talk about cutting. People don't want to talk about the depression and the anger. And if you think about it, you ask anybody who cuts, why do they do it? So they could see it, so they can feel it, so they can see it come out of them. Well, my new cutting's getting punched in the face. It's like a healthy form of self-mutilation,
right.
But it's just redirected, So that's my story. My parents divorced whenever I was 10. My last memory of them being together in the same room is my dad choke slamming my mom on the floor. And so that was the last time they were there together. And then the abuse didn't stop, CPS was called several times in my life. Yeah. So whenever I was old enough to get out, I got out.
Right. So when you finally, and I'm assuming you found martial arts sometime later.
Yes, much later. I wish I would have went to it sooner. It would have definitely shaped my life differently.
Yeah.
But I'm happy I found it the way I did.
Eventually, yeah.
Yeah,
Right.
eventually. I always thought that I wanted to be this person to help other people, and I never knew how I would get that.
Mhm.
After that many years of conditioning, I never thought, like, who would listen to me?
Yeah.
You know, like, what gives me a voice to speak? Why would anybody want to listen to what I have to say? Looking back, it's like, oh, dang, that actually gave me a big voice. You know, it allowed me to connect to other women and other younger people who's been through that situation, who's been poor. You know, I've literally been homeless. I've slept under bridges. I've lived out of a car. And so it's given me a big voice.
Awesome. And I'm assuming it gave you that confidence.
It did.
For
it has.
everything.
It's helped. It's helped a lot. And I'm really grateful that Myron was here. You know, like I had other coaches before him, but he definitely completely just changed my life. He took me under his wing. He taught me a lot. Yeah, I'm still looking forward to Joe showing me his hooks. And uppercuts.
Right. Well, my punches come from here. I mean, that's one source where my stand-up comes from.
I had to learn how to hit hard.
But like she's saying though, martial arts is a unique thing that can allow you to transmute a negative experience and turn it into something positive. When you understand that word transmutation, martial arts is the absolute king of doing that.
Yeah.
Like you can take bad energy, you can take a bad day, you can take negative experiences, you can take even trauma, and it teaches you how to reframe things in such a way that it can come out to make you stronger rather than make you weaker.
Right.
And like I believe that that's one of the lessons in martial arts that isn't taught enough today. With the people, like, maybe, you know, we now are hyper fixated on, does it work in the street? Does it work in the cage? Does it do this? Does it do that? How about does it make you a better person?
Does it make you feel good?
Right. It's so I think that we need to double down on our focus on that as well as the practical aspects. And what she's describing from her growth in the martial arts is that she's been able to take all the bad stuff, and while it may not be gone, it can now manifest in a more positive way for her to use that to affect others. And that's a huge thing.
You verbalized it perfectly. You know, even with Brazilian jiu-jitsu, there was a long time I don't touch my neck. I would go straight into a panic attack. I couldn't breathe. Suddenly I was 6 years old and I was being held down again. You know, being in such an intimate position through martial arts has really allowed me to just breathe through it.
Yeah.
You know, it put me in situations where I could relive my demons, but I could do it in a safe area and work through them.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, for even people who weren't abused, they get scared in that position where somebody, you know, they panic.
Yeah.
You know, and I think that's what's great about jiu-jitsu is, I mean, you learn to be calm when you're this close to getting unconscious, you know.
Right. It's a gradual approach that puts you in a bad position and teaches you how to improve your position, even if it's just a tiny bit. And when you understand how to improve your position, and you're always looking to improve your position, no matter what position you might be in, if you start from the worst place you could possibly be, and then you keep adhering to that theory, pretty soon you're in a good position. And that is a metaphor for life. 100%.
And the other thing with it, you know, with the combat sports, you get in a fight, nobody's coming to save you, you know, like for a long time throughout my life, I realized quickly no one was coming to save me. And so this gave me something that I could stand up and do on my own. I didn't need the approval of my parents. I didn't need the support of whomever. It was something that I could stand up. I could see it. I could feel it. I could do it. And I could just repeat and see myself grow.
Yeah.
Yeah. So alcohol, drug, child abuse, sexual abuse.
Yeah. So I can say this about Joe. There's been several times in my career in law enforcement where I've been in a really dangerous place where it's real. And of all the voices I've heard coaching me in my past, his voice has come to me more than once about what I need to do to stay safe and to go home. And I can say that that's something I would owe him for the rest of my life, because he gave me that grit and gave me that drive to be able to do that because of the way that he trains
Right.
and has trained.
Right. Right. Awesome.
That's
He's
cool.
the pioneer of MMA in Louisiana. A lot of people they might know it, but have never really heard the story as far as how it came. When MMA first started, he looked at me and he looked at other people and said, this will overtake boxing. It's going to overtake karate, and it's going to become a major international sport. He prophesied that, and it came true.
Yeah.
I saw it.
Yeah. And he's the one who got it actually taken to our athletic commission and made it a licensed sport.
Took me 2 years to convince them.
So
Right.
Let's delve into that. So what year was it when you first started or you had the first MMA event in Louisiana?
94.
The first, I think the first MMA event in Louisiana, I could be wrong. I think it was Reality Combat
in Chalmette, right?
No, it was at Senior Frogs on 3217 Melville Dewey because I refereed it.
No, it was
somebody did something before that.
Oh yeah, it was a guy. God, I can't remember his name. Had I known we were going to go into that, I'd.
Well, Carl Schmitz and Chad Robichaud were who ran that.
No, it was before them.
Yeah.
It was before them. It was a guy that.
I stand corrected. Yeah, I mean, but.
It was actually a show. You didn't hear about the show at the Pontchartrain Center when he put some wrestlers in there, and they started acting like wrestlers, and the whole.
Oh, I remember that, but I don't know if that was before Reality Combat or not.
It
was okay. Yeah, but I remember Reality Combat was the first event that I refereed, and it was the first event in my memory in Louisiana. But I mean, it was close. It was close to the beginning of the UFC.
We're gonna have to delve into it. I'm gonna go back on in my books. I got to go to the attic and see who was the guy's name and when he came here.
Well, as far as your first event.
Well, the first UFC event was in '93, correct?
93 or 94 in Denver, Colorado.
Yeah. And then I was lobbying with the commission, and finally they accepted it, and they started having it here because no other state in the country would allow them to have it.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
So Louisiana was having it the most.
Yeah.
A lot of UFCs, the beginning of the UFC started here with Bob Morowitz. This is before Dana White and Allen bought it. Bob was a concert promoter, and Art Davie was involved with him in matchmaking, and he was real good friends with the Gracies. So it was really a push to push Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in the beginning. Okay. And that's why the rules were different for the advantage of Jiu-Jitsu.
Well, yeah, there was a lot of different things at the beginning that favored certain styles. Like even the mat was softer, and a soft mat
is not good for striking or kicking or anything.
No, not at all.
So it wasn't until Dana White took it over and he bought it that they changed the rules to favor to keep it
it fairly even
because they knew the people would get bored watching on the ground.
Yeah,
and if there was gonna grow. He has to change the rules.
It had to be spectator friendly. Fun fact: one of my old martial arts coaches, who is now deceased, fought in UFC 1. That was Kevin Rozier.
Okay.
Joe knows Kevin as well. I mean, he had some experience with him, but at the same time, he had taught me a good bit as well. He was in UFC 1. I definitely remember that.
Yeah.
Kevin was out of Florida.
Colorado. Yeah, he had moved around a lot. He was definitely moved around a lot. He lived in Japan.
He lived with me.
He lived in Japan for a while too.
Couldn't hurt him. You'd hit him in the head with a brick. Couldn't hurt him.
Yeah, if you watch UFC 1 and watch Kevin Rozier fight, you'll see it's
okay.
He definitely had a hard head, man. Rest in peace, Kevin.
So, and now your organization now for MMA locally is
the Bayou Fighting Championship.
Bayou Fighting Championship.
Yeah, we started out as a battle in New Orleans, but when I wanted to expand to other cities, I said, what name can I come up with that's really kind of us in Louisiana? And the first one I came up was BFC Bayou Fighting Championships. Hey, that's it. Let's go with that. And it was that simple and that easy and that quick. Yeah. And we branded it and it worked. So luckily I hit one right.
When was that? When you first the first BFC event?
2018. But the first battle in New Orleans
was
way before that.
Yeah, I do remember
Yeah.
that. Was there something else before that, or was somebody? Maybe there was a different organization.
Rumble on a Rebel.
Yeah.
When I used to just do kickboxing.
Yeah. Right.
Then we started, doing little shows in the Friday night fights at the main event, and we did the shows on the parking lot over there in Fat City. We call it the Battle of New Orleans.
I've refereed hundreds of those fights at the main event. Hundreds and hundreds.
It's amazing how we've grown and where we started.
The ones at the main event was martial arts, or was it the boxing? Because I've been to a few
It was
boxing.
both.
things.
It was both. It was
Okay.
everything. We had run 1998 to 2002. We had the run. We could do it
And
do
Now-
all kind of stuff.
it was rough around the edges. I'll say
Yeah.
that.
It was wild.
It was definitely
And then
definitely rough around the edges.
Mike Foster was the governor back then.
Uh-huh.
So they didn't bother us too much. But when Governor Blanco came in 2002, she squashed everything. We had to revamp the commission and change rules and stuff. So we couldn't do as wild a stuff as we did before.
Yeah.
It had to all be
It
sanctioned.
was definitely a learning experience. I can
So
tell you
they-
that.
In 2002, they started getting down on us, and then we started having to change things.
Yeah.
But I don't think that's a bad thing, though. I mean, it actually put us
No.
in a place now where it's a mainstream sport.
Yeah.
So the evolution of it to be more regulated and be more spectator friendly
No,
and safer. That's a good thing.
We grew with it.
Yeah.
Yeah,
we didn't have any
that's
problem with
definitely
that. It's just
That's the same thing
certain
with
things we had to
UFC.
do.
How they changed it to where it could be more sustainable, friendlier for the easier on
That's
the
why
fighters.
you need to see that podcast with the untold story of Dana White, and that's a very interesting one. And he's Dana White all over again on that, man. He did a good job. I watched it last night.
I'm gonna have to check it out. Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't. I think I've seen bits and pieces of it, and I haven't watched the full front to back. So Joe, you used to fight too, right? You're not just a coach. You're not just, but you used to be
I
a
wore
professional
every hat.
fighter, right?
I wore every hat.
Which can you tell us a little about your fight?
Well,
days?
I started fighting in Florida, actually, in Fort Walton, Destin, Florida area. Jimmy Rodriguez, he just passed away, actually, Jimmy, last year. He was a promoter over there, and he was a kickboxing promoter, and that's where we started going back and forth. And that's how I made Destin and Fort Walton kind of a second home to me. And Scott Beal, I don't know if you remember Scott. Scott moved in from Florida and lived with me at the house, so we would. It was at that time when he moved here that I started going to Delta Boxing Club a lot just to become a better boxer. Because I was kickboxing, I had to learn to box.
You had a favorite kick, right? I remember hearing you discuss that with somebody.
A switch kick and a spinning heel kick.
Yeah, spinning heel kick.
Yeah. I learned it, and you create so much momentum and power with a spinning heel kick. I don't care if you try to block it.
It's coming through.
Yeah.
He's hit me with that quite a bit. I'm well aware of how that feels. His switch kick as well.
Switch kick, and I learned it from Benny Urquidez on the West Coast, and then that became a very popular kick. Everybody uses it now. It works.
Yeah.
Well, it was in Thai boxing for a long time, but nobody really named it. Nobody actually categorized it until it really started to come around.
Benny did that in the 80s. Yeah.
I mean, you got to remember, before then, you didn't have the internet where you could share information instantaneously. Right. So the way people were doing things overseas, it took a lot longer for it to get over here.
Around. Yeah.
Now it gets around in 2 minutes. Somebody posts it in Thailand, and it's already common knowledge in California. Right.
I enjoyed my days when I had to. What's interesting? Let's get here. My what's the word I want to use? My introduction to boxing. How I had to get those guys to accept me, because boy, they just used me as a punching bag with the Delta. I mean, they were karate guys and boxing guys, but it's anti against each other, just like wrestlers and boxers were anti. So I had to make that step into the boxing world to improve my kickboxing, and I went to Delta, and then began in bar, and I was just taking ass whooping after ass whooping, but I wasn't going to stop. And they realized that I could hit hard, and I was learning everything they were giving me, and I became a pretty good little boxer, as an amateur. But I didn't start till I was 21, and at that time, if you're 21 or over, you have to go straight to the open class. You don't. you don't get to fight guys that have only 0 fights or 1 fight. Your open class, you can fight a guy with 200 fights.
Yeah.
So I was fighting guys with some experience,
right?
you know, and I did real well.
Mhm.
You know, I'd go to the Golden Gloves every year at the Blackham Coliseum in
Mhm.
Lafayette.
Yeah.
And fight. I'd fight with the Montague brothers out of Monroe. There was a bunch of good fighters out of Lafayette, and I'd represent out the boxing club, and we had a good time. And I ended up doing
Nice.
well in amateur boxing, and then I ended up turning pro as a professional boxer. Went undefeated in that.
Right, right. Who was your? Did you have an arch nemesis? Somebody you really
in boxing,
in any martial art or any combat? That
no, I didn't really create any nemesis back then. I did create a good fan base in the Miami area and in Toronto, especially in Toronto. I was doing like a little circuit from New Orleans. I'd fight here, then I go fight in Miami, then
That's
I go
a big
Toronto.
Big lot of real estate.
And in Toronto, I started being like a hometown guy over there.
Yeah.
They liked having me. It was two Mickey and Mike McNamara, the McNamara twin brothers, and they were the promoters over there in Toronto. And I would go there quite often to fight. I enjoyed it. Yeah.
He's got a hell of a history, man. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I mean, he's still writing history. So I mean, with everything that we have going on right now, and it's because it hasn't slowed down. We are regularly charging straight ahead.
Mm-hmm.
I could say I'm living my dream now. Finally,
there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Hey,
you know,
that's it.
Yeah, and trying to include her in this dream as well to get her involved through all of what we're doing. I mean, so we're basically that dream is expanding. Is a good way.
Remy, who was your coach? Was it? I know you said you worked with Tim, but
Tim Wade.
But who else?
That
I taught before.
Oh, that you taught? I don't know.
Darren DeSalvo.
Darren.
Yeah, he taught Darren.
Darren came out of our gym.
Mm-hmm. Darren, I'm still with Darren. In fact, that's Darren's car right outside. While he's out of town, he keeps it. He used to stay in here when he was in town for a while. When he goes back and forth.
Oh, we have lots of Darren stories too.
Yeah. He's when he comes in town next week. I think we're gonna have him on and do a podcast with him. Maybe Alfredo Ramirez.
Alfredo.
Me and Alfredo.
We all. You don't know. We all ran together.
Well, me and Alfredo got our black belts in Japanese jiu-jitsu together.
Yeah.
So that's something a lot of people don't know.
Yeah. Okay. Alfredo's awesome, man. He's a good friend.
Definitely.
He lives right by me. I don't know if you know that. He lives real close to us.
He's enjoying himself right down in Europe, though.
Right. He's in Portugal right now, huh?
Bulgaria.
He's hitting all of them.
He's in Bulgaria.
He was in Bulgaria. I saw it.
Romania, Bulgaria.
I know. I told
Portugal.
him. I know. I told him to go to Bulgaria at one point. I told him to go to Sofia and Varna. I've been to Bulgaria a good bit. So.
How's Gino Nijola been?
I haven't talked to him in a while, but I got to reach out to him.
Yeah,
he's another one that was
we got to get him. We got to get him to come next
pioneers, week. And stuff we do around here.
See, that's my idea. I wanted to have a podcast where we have like a few of the original guys that started whatever out here. You know what I mean? Like the grandfathers of combat sports out here.
You know Chad Robichaux and
I've heard the name.
And Carl Schmidt. Yeah, those they did reality combat at first. Both of them were recon Marines. Mm-hmm. Chad's exploded now, doing a lot of different stuff for first responders and for veterans. Between like PTSD,
he was on the show with Tim Kennedy, right?
Yes,
with the one that went to the Middle East.
I think so. Yeah,
mm-hmm.
yeah. Chad's reach is quite far. When he left New Orleans, he went to Texas, and I know now he has an extensive reach.
Who's the one that used to work out? Was Carl worked out on a gym now, right?
Yeah, Carl and Gino. Gino Nijola and Carl Schmidt.
That's why I was sparring with those two guys.
Right? Yeah, you sparred with both of them.
Mm-hmm.
So is he still in Louisiana?
Who's that? Gino
Robichaux.
No, he's in. I believe he's Texas based now. I haven't talked to him in a long time. He's a good friend of mine, even though I feel like I could call him and talk to him at any time. Life happens, and I'm so busy, and I know he is as well.
Yeah, because I remember the name of watching that documentary.
Mm-hmm.
And he was one of the main people on that team that was.
He's got a
saving those people.
Very strong voice. I respect Chad a lot.
Yeah, awesome. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
What time you got? I see you looking at you.
I got to roll in a minute because I got to go and work. I got to go work the streets, but I'm going to leave this in the very capable hands of these two. And hopefully I'll speak to you again soon. I'm sure I may be back on at some point. I know we're going to do an Angel episode.
Yes, definitely.
For sure.
We'll schedule that. Yeah, especially after her bit tonight. Explain.
Yeah,
I'm sure we have a lot of people.
She's got a lot to
interested
share.
in
Yeah, she definitely. She is so inspirational when you see her in front of girls and women, and like when we teach our women self-defense things.
Yeah.
If you see how good she nails that, it's fantastic.
Awesome.
I'm very very proud of her.
Had a really good coach.
Well, I'm trying.
Had a really
I'm
good
still
coach,
trying.
you know,
still teaching her how to coach. There you go.
Yeah, trust me. I hear your voice. So there's times I'm doing stuff around the house. I'm like, okay, Myron, I hear you.
Right.
You don't know how much pleasure it gives me to know my students kept everything going.
Keep it going, right?
Yeah.
I will definitely keep it going.
Awesome.
But I am going to duck out, and you guys have a good one. I need to go to work, and I got to go make a living.
Yeah. Well, you be safe.
I will try. Absolutely.
Be safe.
Yes. Time for me to duck out.
It's really cool because being newer to all of this, I'm hearing Myron's stories, I'm hearing Joe's stories, and I wasn't around to witness all of this start.
Right.
You know, I'm jumping in rather late, but it's really cool hearing Joe's story, knowing more about Myron, just seeing how all of our paths, you know, like I said earlier, I always wanted to be a voice to help someone out. I didn't know how I was going to get there, but somehow
you landed in the right spot.
Yes, I did. Yeah. Yes, I did.
Yeah.
Now
I've heard a lot of stories. Like, I've got mutual friends with Joe, and I've heard a lot of stories, but I've never got to sit down and have a conversation. So it's a real treat.
With me.
And yeah.
I've seen you around a lot.
Yeah, I see you around a lot. And
I don't ask questions. I just kind of look and listen, you know.
But yeah, it's a real treat to sit down and discuss some of this.
I've led an interesting life, and I'm still living it. You know,
yeah,
I'm still having an interesting life. You know.
Yeah. Right.
You never know what's next with him. That's for sure.
So, when is the next BFC?
December 1st is our next MMA event.
Okay.
You know, BFC is our brand, is our promotional company. You know, BFC is promoting Battle of the Badges.
Okay.
Our nonprofit is our 501c3 is Martial Arts for Kids, which we may change, you know, to a different name, which is similar. And the reason I stress that is that, you know, I want people to understand that boxing and wrestling were martial arts.
Yeah, absolutely.
You know,
absolutely.
and I used to argue with all these guys from years ago, wrestlers and boxing. No, it's not. No, it's not. Yes, it is.
Yeah.
And finally, now everybody's acknowledging that. I mean, this was going on 25 years ago, and I was arguing with these people.
Yeah.
Just like when I started, when MMA started. So let me tell you something. We're fighting in the middle of the desert, fist fighting for certain groups, biker groups.
Yeah.
And I'm seeing 800 to 1,000 people show up for these events. It says when this stuff goes mainstream, the whole country is going to pick up on it.
Yeah,
because everybody loves a good fight. I don't care how you look at it. Yeah, you know, people like watching violent people.
Yeah. Well, I mean,
they like that. I mean, and you know, you go back in history, the most respected generals were badass motherfuckers. Let's do it. But they were badass. And they had brains, and they could lead. They could lead their people. They could teach.
Right.
And what this has taught me is that people still respect that. It's still a fact.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't care how you look at it. You know, you want a leader that is strong, that can lead you the correct way, and can kick some ass if necessary when all the evil comes around. Yeah. That's all there is to it.
Yeah.
And, you know, people respect that. And that's what we need as leaders and you know, not sheep. We need wolves out there that can lead the pack and take care of things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's funny because you're talking about all this, and it brings to mind Tim again. He's he teaches, you know, martial arts, right, like anybody else, but he always sends us these documents of military documents or strategic documents, and history documents of fighting, and he relates that to what we do, then you see it. You're like, oh my God, yeah, you're right. This is, but people forget that. People forget that everything started from a knife.
Mm-hmm.
Every weapon, handheld weapon, stems from a knife. Even tactics to modern day gunfighting stems from the knife. You do the same thing, just with a different weapon.
Mm-hmm.
But it's funny. He's got that mindset. He's a Marine, so he's he's got all that and that real what is it? I should say fight education or fight intellect.
Reality base.
Yes, and I think that's when you mention like people respect that and they want to follow that, and it gets people interested or passionate about it. He has a lot of his students and his instructors are the same way. Some people, in fact, some people outside of our organization say, "Oh, it's a cult." I mean, it's not really a cult, but we do follow. We take serious what we do. And it works. So, but yeah, it's absolutely truth, man. And going back also to the history, that's the Roman Empire and gladiators. That was entertainment, man. That was
and they were when they were in the Coliseum fighting each other. They were bare knuckle punching each other and ground and pounding in each other. That was boxing and wrestling. Yeah. And then people will all I knew when the UFC started, I said, this shit is going to be so big and so popular.
It's the new Gladiator.
Exactly. And I argue with everybody in town and told them, and they said, no. I says, watch. And finally, 20 years later, they came and told me, I said, sure, you were so right. I'm so sorry. I apologize, And then, it's nice when people acknowledge that your vision that you saw 25 years ago, you were corrected on point. And I just always had that about the martial arts. If you stand up for what's right and you could back it up correctly, people respect that. Yeah. And you could change them to follow what's good and not what's bad. I just at the martial arts has done so much for me. That's why I'm so passionate about our new organization.
That's what I'm saying. Circling back to the Mac.
Kids need this. This world is so fucked up right now.
Yep. And going back to what he was saying, Myron was saying is, I think in general, any physical activity, consistency is overall going to help your mind, not just your body, but your mind. But martial arts itself is probably the best, one of the best ways.
Absolutely.
To do it,
I think especially 100%. For the so many introverted kids that are playing on their iPads and doesn't know how to socialize. Yeah, it could pull them out of that rut they're in. Yeah, and let them know. I can see what it does to my grandson when he tackles somebody. Somebody messes with him, he tackles him, and he says, "Dad, Papa." He's always Papa this, Papa to come look at see. He's so proud of himself. When you give kids that self-confidence and that pride, it makes them want to do better. Yeah,
it does.
And I'm watching that through my grandson right now, and I'm watching that through kids I've seen in classes, and that's why I can never tell a child years ago when their parents said, we can't really afford it anymore, right. Joe, we have to pull them out. I said, you ain't got to do that. I got it. And so then I just have to work longer hours in the bar downstairs or do other stuff, to pay the bills, because it was rough. I mean, it was really rough running a gym and running a club at the same time. I mean, I'm getting, and there's a certain thing you had to do to run your club and be around people and smoke and drink and everything all day long, and then detox again upstairs in the gym. I mean, it's like I did this for 20 something years. Mine will tell you, I was going, oh man, they'd see me one day coming in from the club and I had too much to drink. It was like, what's the drunk samurai, drunk Ronins or whatever. And going back with Darren, I brought Darren and Alfredo. We all came up together, Myron, all of those guys, and we became so close back in the day. And I'm blessed to see them successful, and they got kids now that are great martial artists. Yeah, I mean, it's just like right. You see that, it gives you a lot of pride and gratitude for what you've done. You say, hey man, I made an impact on somebody's life.
Yeah. I mean, Darren's son and Alfredo's kids, man, they're a top of their game. You know, that's and Josh just moved up to Pennsylvania or somewhere to try to pursue it full time. But
I've been so proud of Myron his whole life. He came to me around 16 years old, and I can't remember when it was. And watch he speaks so well, and he's so educated in it. And he'll read a book and say, I'll read a book and say, Myron, you got to read this book, like Living the Marshall Way. You read it yet?
I have not.
Phenomenal book. I've read it 5 times.
Okay. The Marshall Way.
Yeah, Living the Marshall Way. And there's a few other books that I really like. And Myron, between my brother and Myron, we always telling each other what books to read, and I'll sit there and I get so enthralled in this book. I'll stay up a whole day just reading the book,
Get lost in it, right?
Yeah, he has a lot of books that he has me read. Actually, I love him though. I love him. He definitely has a book list for me. It's funny you mentioned coming in drunk. It's like I woke up this morning. It's like, I gotta teach. He's like, I got class. I'm like, oh boy, okay. Here's what we're doing. Focus. It's really cool seeing the kids just the way they progress and their development. I used to help out with the kids program when we still had the kids program at New State, and it was the cutest thing in the world when you pull out the ladder and you're trying to teach the kids what to do, and they're getting so excited thinking they're doing it right, and it's nowhere near right, but their feet are going still nowhere doing it, but they just look at me like, did you see, and you're like, yes I saw. Let's come down here and let's do it again. So it's cool seeing it in other people's kids, and then even with my daughter who is 11, seeing her confidence. Now, there's several conversations I have to have with her because she hit me with the, Mom, why do you teach it if you don't want to use it, the other day? And I'm like, do you know nothing about me, child? So there's a couple talks I have to have with her, but seeing her leadership skills is really great. Awesome. She'll look you in the eye. She talks to you. She'll have a conversation with you. Every now and again, she'll get shy, but she adores her Pawpaw popcorn over here.
Yeah. Remy, who did you start with when you first started training?
First, when I was a kid, it was, what's his name? It was out of St. Bernard. It was Taekwondo. It was last name Lee. Jimmy Lee?
I don't know.
I can't remember.
You knew Jojo Joses?
I didn't train, but I knew his name.
He's a very good friend of mine.
Yeah. And then I trained with Wayne Gilliot, Tang Sudo, also out of St. Bernard. Then I had a big long break, and that's when I started jiu-jitsu.
Who was the guy that was a Shotokan black belt from St. Bernard? Short, stocky guy. He died actually diving. He was a hell diver.
Oh,
Pat
name?
Welsh. Pat Welsh is his name.
Okay, yeah.
Pat Welsh, real stocky. Well, he's one of McCombie students.
Okay.
Pat Welsh, that was his name. And then we had Andrew Marshall, who was in Kung Fu out there. You remember Andrew Marshall?
I remember the name. Yeah, I'm not.
And then Jerry Pellegrini's son, little Jerry, barber.
Boxing, yeah.
And you knew Kenny Saavedra? Kenny was a hell of a fighter, man.
Yeah.
And it's funny. He's a boxer from Chalmette that ended up getting into jiu-jitsu and doing very well with it.
Yeah.
He got in it through me.
Okay.
He was just a pure boxer. Then he started delving into the martial arts.
Okay.
You don't really see that often.
Right.
Boxers that are really, really good boxers, and they kind of change over to martial arts. Yeah. So he was another one that.
See, to me, that's a sign of a true martial artist.
Yeah.
When they don't just stick with one name. They say, I'm interested in various arts, even if they don't do it all the time, but they interest and they see they see the benefits of some parts of it.
You always find little things that work for you too.
And what I've noticed, I'm training several different styles or exploring different styles. A lot of them come together in the same thing. Like you notice, okay, that resembles this, that resembles that. It's because those things work. So some people from across the globe, figured it out to, hey, this works. So they have their own version of it.
Well,
certain moves, certain angles.
A
certain
lot of people
punches,
don't understand how martial arts came to the United States. Is we had our service guys on the other side of the world introduced to different martial arts. First, we had the World War II, Okinawa, Japan,
Japanese,
and that's why Japanese martial arts started off in the beginning. As the only martial art that the Americans really knew about,
and that's why
they
associate it with Asian martial arts. Like you were just saying before, how it's not just an Asian art. It's it's a lot of things martial arts.
But after World War I, we had the Korean War, and then we got introduced to Taekwondo. Okay, and then we had the Vietnam War. Okay, and that's when we got introduced to Muay Thai. Because it's in the same peninsula. And then you see how the different arts. At first, it was Japanese karate. Then it was the Korean styles because of the Korean War, and then it was Muay Thai that we got introduced to.
Right, and it's all from military.
From military. That's why martial arts is better known amongst people in the military and the police than any other profession in the world. Right. They've accepted it mostly.
But now today, with the internet,
now it's crazy. It's wide open.
It's wide open. Everybody's learning everything, every little thing, or making something up and teaching something that's total horseshit, but because they have a good platform, Absolutely. So Angel, what do you teach at Courage?
Boxing, actually. Well, Courage Combatives is more of a kind of smorgasbord of a little bit of everything. We go into a 20 spear program. We go into boxing. There's lots of judo in there with throws. I don't teach it because my Brazilian jiu-jitsu is not high enough for me to be like, yeah, do this. I let Myron take care of that. There's elements of Japanese jiu-jitsu. There's elements. It's literally a little bit of everything.
So it's everything in one class, you mean?
Yes.
Okay.
So
awesome.
Depending on what we'll do, it is sometimes we'll have one-on-one clients, and I'll sit down with the parents, and I have like a list of things that I really think everybody, especially young women, should learn. Right. Hair grabs, wrist defense. That's hapkido. Some of it's a little bit of judo with knowing how to throw them. And then boxing. I think everybody needs to know basic boxing because blunt force trauma. Well, blunt force trauma stops violence. Somebody comes at you really quickly and you hit them with a nice little 3-punch combo. It suddenly ends that sentence. Anybody getting punched in the face. Yes. It's going
to take a pause.
I was never into the soft arts like Aikido and stuff like that. It never did interest me. And I'm not saying I'm negative to it. But I like beat violence with stronger violence. Right. That just stops it right away.
Destruction.
Yeah.
Well, I liked elements of the hapkido because it gave a lot of wrist manipulations, like what do you do if somebody grabs you by the wrist? It's a bunch of little moves off of there. So I've found a lot of elements since I am a smaller female of what works, and I can take those, and Myra and I can give those to people. So we'll sit down with this list and we'll go through what the parent feels like they need to learn. And there's stuff that I always teach no matter what. Japanese jiu-jitsu is amazing for getting people on the ground. It's great for redirecting. Brazilian jiu-jitsu, every woman should know, because if you get attacked, you're going to be brought to a flat surface and you need to know what to do.
Right.
So Courage Combatives, we do one-on-one, we do group classes, we do self-defense seminars, anywhere between 1 to 3 hours long. Churches, large groups. We've worked with sororities, pretty much whomever, even families. So I'll go and make house calls, family, and then I'll work an hour with the daughter, or work an hour with mom or whomever, and we'll just kind of go through all of it. Outside of Courage Combatives, I also teach boxing at New State Fitness alongside Myron. So I do their Saturday classes. I used to be there for every Tuesday and Thursday, but being the single mom for a while, it got a lot. Yeah. So usually by the time the 7:15 classes are in there, I got to get my daughter in, the mom program.
Yeah.
So we have that there, and those are my main my main go-tos. I'm
Okay.
still a student.
Where's New State Fitness?
New State Fitness is a sister gym of NOLA BJJ,
Okay.
and it is behind Clearview Service, behind the Clearview Mall.
On the
Okay, on the
Yeah.
service road.
Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
So
Mhm.
NOLA BJJ, obviously Brazilian
Mhm.
Jiu-Jitsu.
Yeah.
At New State, we have Japanese Jiu-Jitsu, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and then a striking program.
Okay.
For adults and for kids.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Awesome. Yeah, I try to. I haven't done it in the last 2 months because it's so busy, but I'll do a women's self-defense at our school.
Mm-hmm.
And it's free to our members and then very
That's at Darren's gym.
yeah,
Yeah.
very affordable for who else wants it. I got the idea because I helped Darren do the one for Saint John the Baptist Parish. He works for that department.
Is Calvin still coaching over there?
At Cyclone? No, not really. No, he's just so busy.
He's with St. Charles. He's with St. Charles. Now,
He's
right?
with St. John the Baptist too. Yeah, he's
a deputy with St. John the Baptist.
Mhm.
St.
Yep.
John.
Yep.
Well, I thought he was with St. Charles.
No, St. John. Yeah, he got on with Darren. And then, he still comes in every now and then, but he doesn't teach with us anymore. He's just so busy. At work, I guess, But
You gonna be making the Battle of the Badges next week?
Friday, I teach Friday nights. What time is it
really?
for?
7.
7. I might. I'm gonna check with my students and see maybe I can move that class to a Thursday or something. Because I'd like to go. I definitely would like to go.
I our first boxing match, we ended up having 1,800 people there, and tickets started really rolling on this thing. This actually in the last couple of days.
Yeah.
And I'm getting a lot of calls.
Good.
You know.
A lot of like pre-sales.
Well, I just see there's a lot of buzz amongst the fire departments in New Orleans. And I had some other guys try to sign up. I had to sign another one.
Yeah, more fire departments kicking in now.
Yeah, more the fire departments, and we have.
So let me ask
17 fights now. I think.
Yeah.
Are these guys completely? The people that are signing up, are they like they train in boxing, or they say, "Hey, yeah, I want to do it. I want to fight a police officer."
Some both.
Both. Okay.
Both.
Okay.
Yeah. Some are are skilled, and we match them accordingly.
Turn that mic to your face. Rotate. Yeah, there you go.
We're matching them accordingly to their skills and age, and height, and weight, and everything.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Some
That's
people
cool.
have never stepped foot in a martial arts gym. I've talked to some of the firefighters. They're like, I've never fought. I've never even been in a fight.
But they're okay. That's kind of cool.
Yeah,
It's
and,
always cool to watch.
We also extended it out, so not just fire department and police. We actually have military and EMS. So
EMS, EMS. Okay,
yeah,
awesome.
Jeff will be fighting, and he's Navy. So
okay, awesome. Yeah,
We've a lot of people stepped up for this. I'm getting more response than I thought I would.
Yeah, it's good.
And I'm real happy with it. And it's I've had a lot of guys, policemen I've taught in the past. Says, Joe, we coming. I hadn't talked to these guys in years. So just like my last boxing event, it was like stepping back in 30, 40 years. I've seen some of these guys that were in boxing with me years ago at Delta, and they all came. And now I'm hearing from a lot of students. I've got Nick Sanderson, who's in the DEA now. He's coming in from New York to fight.
Yeah.
He was one of my students.
Cool.
He's coming in to compete in it. And like I said, I'm living my dream. It's so nice. Like when Tim came in town, we all went and ate and everything, and it was nice seeing him. And there's guys that I've touched in their lives, and I got a thing of letters of people thanking me so much. And you really helped me so much in the military. You helped me so much getting into police academy, and what you taught me works so well.
It's got to feel good.
Oh,
it's got to feel real good.
Yeah, it does. Yeah,
that's awesome.
Yeah.
Especially in having such a long career in it, to have that vast.
Well, I had to do so much on my own. I didn't have the knowledge wasn't available to us back then. It was all trial and error.
Yeah, didn't have the internet.
No, I mean, and you really like I want to tell you the story. You said that's for another podcast, but I would really literally go to the places and people would pick on me.
Yeah.
We
have to do that. We have to get together
because I hated bullies. I hated bullies my whole life. So I would go to places where the bullies would hang out in the hoods, and I just go in there and have a great old time, and it would just piss them off because I was having a good old time. And they say, "Who's this?" And they want to test you.
Yeah, right.
And that's how it was in the clubs years ago.
Mm-hmm.
You go out and you want to test you. And they still do it now, but I mean, this was really quite prevalent back then.
Yeah.
And okay, so I'd say, you want to dance? Let's dance. You know, it was funny back then, but and you would actually, use the techniques that you would train with, and you would find out what really worked.
Right. You're validating your training.
Exactly.
It's basically.
Yeah. And there was a time I remember in the boxing gym, Mr. Vinny Arnona was my boxing coach. He was best friends with Angelo Dundee, who trained Muhammad Ali and, Willie Pastrana from New Orleans and everything. And Willie was a trainer of mine too, and he got me my first boxing match. But Mr. Vinny had a gym at the end of Magazine Street right there by the Irish Channel. And there was a guy named Freddie Johnson and Warren Matthews who were pretty damn good boxers. And old man Shrimp, the trainer, and Joe Brown, you can look his name in history books, says, Joe, I'll tell you what, you do this you kickboxing and let the boy do this boxing. I want to see how y'all work out and do it. So I used my switch kick, and I did a switch kick, and I hit the guy right in the head. He dropped and knocked out. And he said, man, this shit really works. I said, I told you it does. And they started really respected me as a karate guy. I was Joe the karate guy, And then he said, hey, man, this stuff really works. And so they just kind of like took me in and said, okay, you're part of us now. And they started really teaching me really good skills of boxing. And I could never figure out the hook yet until Chuck Mintz Sr., old man Chuck, taught it to me, and I saw it. I says, I just picked it up. I realized what I was doing wrong. And then I perfected it. And I could hit with a hook to the body, a hook to the head, an overhand right. It just worked. And everything I did everything with as much power as I could. Because I was
100%.
I just was, that's why they called me the butcher boy. I would knock you out or cut you. And if, you were, somebody was getting hurt,
Yeah.
And I'd always stay ready to fight. Mike Sawyer, who was the president of the ISK, which was a company that took over the PK after. Mike loved having me because he knew I was always in shape.
Always ready. Yeah.
He could call me on a day's notice, and I'd fly out and fight anywhere in the world, because I'd love to travel. I mean, that's how I got to travel and see the world, was because I was a fighter. Yeah. And I was always ready. So he said, I got a guy ready. You got a 155? Yeah. You got a 160? I got a guy. He called me up, Joe, you want to take this fight? Yeah. Send me my plane ticket. And I'd fly out of town. Yeah. I didn't have guys that were training me in town because nobody knew anything about kickboxing. I was the first kickboxer really here, that really, I'd go to the West Coast and train over at Benny Okita's gym, and they didn't really know me back then. I just go to the gym and just, pay for the workout and work out with the guys. And so I'd learn a lot of stuff, come here and train it, then put it to use.
Validated in the clubs.
Pressure test.
And I stayed ready. I mean, I was in really good shape back then. I was, I didn't know I had spondylolisthesis, which is what you call it, a syndrome. What is it? Your spine's offset about 50%, so it's called grade 2.
Yeah.
So every time I would run long distance, my back would spasm and lock up. And the coaches would tell me to run long. I said, I can't run long distance. So I would just run sprints, and I would do hops.
Sprint, yeah.
But I didn't know that at the time that was the way you're really supposed to train and run, and doing sprints. Yeah. So I was faster and stronger and more powerful and forceful because I was training a different way.
The anaerobic, power.
Yeah.
Right.
So and it worked out, and so I was doing something that everybody wasn't doing, but it was actually more helpful for the purpose of fighting. Yeah. It was a long journey, man. And I these kids have so much information now. Yeah. And they got it down to a T now,
I think they got too much information sometimes.
So they get lazy because they had too much information because they didn't have to figure it out for themselves. But boy, there's a lot of figuring out back when I was coming up. Yeah.
Oh man. So real quick, is there any sponsors you want to mention offhand for this event?
We have Well, the sheriff's office. Joe LaPinto, the sheriff, really came in and stepped up to the plate.
Yeah.
And really helped us out in American Men's Roofing.
Okay.
He did a great job. Craig Garanda, the sponsored. And then Dino Bonanno, our councilman, Anheuser-Busch Company, and Hooters. Greg Gibson at Hooters has done a lot for us. My good friend Mark Bowl with Friendly Power Sports and Used Bikes Direct actually is one of the main guys that helped me get started again back in 2017 when I was out for a while. Eric Hernandez at NOLA Living Realty has helped out tremendously. My good friend Craig Clark with Gulf Coast Service and Scrap. Steve over at general manager and part owner of New Orleans Harley Davidson. And then Dolph Federico at Pelican Graphics. And what else we got on here?
Champion Graphics too.
Yeah, we got Greg Richmond at Champion Graphics. He's been with me for 40 years, man, printing my stuff.
Yeah, he does a lot of printing.
And he's such a great guy. And I can call him up in the morning. He'll have my stuff ready by lunch. Nobody can do that, or he would get these things ready like that. And he's an excellent printing company. So if anybody wants some good printing, go see Champion Graphics.
Yeah. Awesome, man. So it looks like it's going to be a good event. Yeah. You said you're about 12 to 15
We
fights,
have 17
maybe?
fights right
17
now.
fights. Okay,
I
awesome.
think we have 17 right now.
Man,
we got to get it started rolling with it. Doors open at 6. Fights start at 7. We want to be out of there by 9:30, 10 o'clock. It is a kid, it's a family-friendly event, so we don't want to stay out there too late.
Yeah.
We're going to run them fast. And we're going to have the big fire trucks with ladders and stuff, and SWAT cars and tanks and all kind of stuff. So to bring the kids out and take pictures of everybody.
Yeah, nice.
We got trophies and medals for the fighters and everything. And Hooters is going to be giving free wings to all the VIP tables. And there's a lot of stuff that we're trying out. Dennis Wall, I want to thank Dennis, who's the founder of the Battle of the Badges in Monroe.
Okay.
He started it 19 years ago. He's going to be there with us to make sure that, we're getting the show off correct. This is our inaugural event. We're going to have it annually here.
Annually, okay. That was my next question. If you can plan.
We have it annually, and then we have it on Veterans Day weekend. So it's a good thing to really push for the police and firemen and military and,
Very cool. Yeah.
We're hoping to get a lot of support from those who understand that we need our policemen and our firemen. I mean, I don't care what you see on TV. These guys are good people, man. They really try to help us out a lot.
Yeah.
Can't thank the sheriff's office enough for what they've done for us.
Yeah.
And stepped up to the plate. And I want to thank the sheriff's office a lot, and Craig over there at American Men Roofing.
Awesome. Yeah, we'll definitely. I'll keep in touch. I have your email, but I'll get your contact, your number, and stuff like that. We'll definitely want to schedule something for both of y'all separately, in the next few weeks or so. Probably.
Well, Myron's going to have to be in it because he remembers more than I do.
Yeah.
He really
I
does.
will get if possible. We'll get you, Myron, and maybe Darren.
Darren be fun. The four of us: Alfredo, Darren, myself, Myron. That's going to be.
That'll be.
And maybe even Frank Racy in here. Oh God.
I used to train with him actually.
Yeah.
But definitely.
We were a crew back then.
Anything else we want to talk about, mention before we sign off?
Our next MMA event is going to be December 1st.
December 1st,
at the Pump Train Center. So we got a 3-week break between this fight
and
that, and then we're going to be off from December 2nd through February 2nd.
Okay.
So the month of December. The month of December, I need a break. I need to relax.
Yeah, it's holidays.
Yeah, holidays I'm gonna take December off.
Yeah,
so I'm gonna probably start keeping it like that and give me some time.
Nice.
I want to spend some time with my grandson again.
There you go. Well, I thank you guys for coming. It was a pleasure. If y'all have any questions, just hit me up. I guess I can get everything from here, but. If there's anything you want me to put in the description of the podcast and the videos, that I post, certain whatever sponsors, links or something like that.
I think maybe we went off on a few different tangents.
Oh
this
yeah,
time,
absolutely, yeah, which is fine.
but I think people are going to find it interesting.
Absolutely. And that's and honestly, I prefer to be an organic conversation
Instead of to the point and really trying to just promote one thing,
because it keeps people interested.
The main thing was we follow on our mission, and that's just to improve people's lives.
Yeah.
That's what we want to do.
Yeah.
And just so people know, you can get tickets online at www.bayufc.com. The thing with the buying online is we'd love for you to buy online. It links to Eventbrite, but if you are able to get in touch with Joe or myself, we're able to hand deliver the tickets and give you the wristbands when you buy online.
They take a fee too, right?
I'm sorry. There is a fee, so you get them a little bit cheaper with us.
Mm-hmm. And you get your wristbands, so you don't have to stand in line.
Yeah, so that's the other thing. So whenever you buy them online, you're still waiting in line. Whereas with us,
you just get right to the
absolutely
indoor.
Right, walk straight in. Definitely saves a lot of time.
Cool. Yeah. All right, guys. Again, like I said, thank you very much. I'll keep in touch. I definitely want to talk to both of you guys again. If there's any questions,
no, thank you so much for having us.
Good. It was a pleasure. It was a pleasure having you guys. Having you.
Maybe,
quiet over there.
Maybe next time.
I should have got you to come sit here now.
As I'm learning from both of them, maybe next time I'll have more to say on it. But being his assistant and his student,
no, you did good.
Learning.
You did awesome.
Good. Thank you.
You made us look good. All right. So that's it. So let me go ahead.